Good afternoon, everybody. I just went through more of my records from records from the CPS thing. There's like over 2,000 pages, so I've been working on that for a while. Um, so I want to read this stuff right here to you guys, and make sure you read that. Fraudulent never did what they said I claim I did. So here's proof of it. Here's papers, proof of more fraud they committed, and they don't think I know they committed it. So basically, they're claiming that I cut my oldest child in a high chair on a regular basis on too often. I never did that. Then C Meeks, because she didn't like the fact that I was on welfare and a single mother, she also reported me to get my son removed from me, my care, on December 3rd, 2018. It was such an emergency to remove my child. Why did they wait 3 weeks to remove my child? Answer that one. It's fraud. They are claiming the report said I was falsely accused of sitting on my son when he was upset. And I never once said that. Never once at all said that. Never once. They accused me of leaving him strapped in a high chair too often, which is not true. As you can see in my videos on YouTube, he was always out off his chair. So that was more fraud. Which they did shame me because I was a single mom without a license. They did shame me. They deny it when they did shame me. They accused me of drugging my son when I never once did that. He was cutting teeth in, and I only give him as needed, as the instructions say on the bottle, with the doctor's approval. And they're accusing me of using Motrin for my son to keep him asleep all the time. I never once did that. More fraud, guys. Then, like I said in my other video, Karen Armstrong, she couldn't go against her co-workers or she will lose her license. So she had to be forced to lie in court as well and into this activity log report. Then I'm still reading this stuff. There's a lot of stuff, information on here, guys. Which I did cancel some appointments when Josiah Omi is sick because they won't transport people when you're sick. And doctors don't want people come in when they're sick anyway. This is before the pandemic. Apparently they used against me that I did family photos with my son. They used that against me as a form of neglect and abuse. Yeah, stupid, I know, guys. I'm reading this stuff off this paper while I speak. I sent message to Karen Armstrong, and she said she was present on Tuesday. Some info she did not hear as she was with Josiah in the evaluation while Bethany was interviewed. At the end of the eval, the PT person said Josiah had conjunctures. He did not have conjunctures, so full of crap. And they said this usually only happens to people that's wheelchair bound. He never had conjunctions. Like, come on. They're so retarded. More fraud they committed. And they said they were concerned while I was strapping Josiah in a high chair too often. I was not doing that at all, guys. I was not doing that at all. Only time he was in this high chair was to eat, drink, and do art activities. Rest of the time he was out playing around, moving around, walking, having fun, picking stuff up, working on the steps, all this other stuff. And they had the gall to say that I kept him strapped in a high chair way too long, too frequently, when that was not true at all. And Karen claimed that for a while that was the case, that I kept him strapped in a chair too often. That's not true. That's not true at all, guys. That's not true at all. And I know only reason Karen said that was because she didn't want to go against her coworkers. Um, and I was also falsely accused by Karen. Karen said she would schedule appointments 3 months out and one by phone. Bethany would cancel appointments. No, I did not cancel appointments. I always attended them with her. That is more lies and perjury they put in this report. She told the Avaya team that she had things she needed to do for herself, blah, 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 blah. They couldn't take it to freaking appointments. And I never once said that. And they said they're accusing me of Bethany has a history of canceling appointments and terminating services when she gets upset. Again, that was a lie. And as you see in my previous video, that has been determined as a lie, with the evidence to prove it. Karen Armstrong said to Sue Meeks from Ohio University that felt Josiah should be in care to receive needed services. Told Karen Armstrong, we have a report a screening, case initiated. And the thing is, what they said there was more line of copper crap. They lied in this report so they can take my kids away because they don't like that I was on welfare and that was a single mother and a survivor of domestic violence. And that's exactly what Sue Meeks says. She is against people like that and she'll do whatever she has to do to write a falsified report, intentionally write a falsified report on me to see that I lose my kid and any other kids I might have, because she's against people on welfare to have kids. And she's against parents who is in a foster care system as well, and who is single, and who has had a past of domestic violence. She is completely against that, and she said no one needs kids when they have that stuff, blah, 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 you name it. And she threatened 6 months prior to the removal of my son that she will do whatever she can to commit fraud, intentionally commit fraud, to see that my son, Josiah Limley, will be removed. Fraudulent claims, and I'll put a note on it. And it says the activity date 11/30/2018, created by Lisa Garrico, case category excess invest, and they never did an investigation, not a proper one anyway. They just did what they felt like they wanted to do to just get money. Activity state completed, responsible worker Lisa Garrico, contact time, phone call to mother. And she never did that. She never called me. She never did none of this stuff. She accused me of threats that I never committed. Same with Aaron Lucas, Carla Boyle, and Jennifer Kane. They all said that I was sending threatening messages when it was not me at all. I was asleep when these claims were coming in. And prior to that, like I said, I was completely locked out of my Gmail account 2 months prior to all this stuff. And these all committed fraud to put a CPO against me. I never did what she claims I did. So apparently at 3:50 p.m., RPC from Bethany says she was upset about ACCS being called, which I was very upset because they constantly closed me out because of no evidence to prove any of these claims, but yet they want to keep harassing me and open cases up on me. So yes, I did say I was upset that they got another report. Any parent would. Bethany stated she has rights and she does not have to work with ACCS because some bleep called it on me. I never said that once. Bethany stated she takes care of her son and he gets to his appointments and she does not drug him like the report says, which I did say that because I do not drug him like the report said, which is fraud. They claiming I did that stuff, and I never once ever did that. I would never do that to anyone's kid or my kid. People are like just literally psychotic. These people are psychotic, guys. These people are evil. These people are lunatics who just offer the bonuses they get for ripping kids away by fraud. Bethany say the problems her son is having is because of a birth defect. Yes, he did have a birth defect. And she could get the papers from the doctor's office and give them to the caseworker. I did say that. The caseworker explained Bethany would allow the caseworker to come to the house if Bethany could sign a release, and the caseworker could gather the information from the doctors and from Nationwide Children's Hospital. She never said that. They never showed up and everything. So I don't trust them enough to even get the records because they have a history of committing fraud, changing evidence around, switching people's words up, and threatening them, which is all felony ones. And they can go to federal prison or military prison if this ever gets caught. And I hope they all rot in a military prison. Show them how it's like to rot in a jail cell for something you never did. Which they did this. That's the only difference between them and me. I never did the things they said I did. And there was no charges filed against me for any type of child endangerment. There was none of that stuff going on. Bethany said she was going to call her old children's service attorney, Madeline Rainbow, which I did say that, and see if she thinks it's a good idea for her to meet with the caseworker. Bethany stated she will call the caseworker back, which I called Madeline, and they told me no. For my best interest, I do not need to meet with them alone, that someone needs to be with me, because this is ridiculous. She knows how they lie and commit fraud, change evidence around, switch people's words up, and so does my case manager. 4:15 p.m. on PC from Bethany says she called Perks Hall and has an appointment for her son to get his immunizations done on January 3rd, and she has transportation, which I did. I had transportation with Green Cab. They was going to pick me and Josiah up for his medical appointment. The caseworker asked if he was behind on shots, and Bethany said he was not. And I did say he was not, because he never was behind on shots. Never once. And they're using these holidays as a form of neglect when the offices are not even open. Bethany stated that Perk Hall was going to fax information to the caseworker stating her son's leg problem was from birth and that they told her to give him melatonin to address his sleep, which his primary care physician doctor did tell me to give him melatonin, over-the-counter liquid melatonin for children to help with his sleep. And they did say that. So they even try to say they never said that. They know that's a lie. Bethany stated she was going to email the caseworker photos to show what her son looks like and have other people email the caseworker to say how well Bethany takes care of him. Which I never said that. Because they was trying to get me for abuse and neglect, so I was going to send the pictures and stuff to prove otherwise. I was told by my attorney they prefer me to take pictures of the supplies and stuff, and his room, his setup, and everything, to protect me from any wrongdoing. But when I did that, they just deleted that stuff, and they act like they never got it. And I never once said anyone to have them contact them. And I was using a different account, by the way, guys. Then Jamie Mays, 12/3/2018, activity state completed, responsible worker, Laura Bobo, contact face-to-face, subcategory ACB, face-to-face, Start time 4:45 p.m. End time by 5:30 p.m. Intake ID, blah blah blah. Not giving that information. Initial contact, no. So that proves there was no initial contact prior to removing my kids without evidence. So they didn't put me in jail, so I won't gather my evidence. Jamie Mays, Lauren Bobo, and Tara Carsey and Lisa McGarrico told the cops to write out a false report on me to throw me in jail for something I never did. Some won't fight for my kid, and some won't gather information to send to the DHHS office headquarters, and they put me in jail by fraud. So I won't be able to say my rights and practice my rights. The caseworker accompanied by Supervisor Bobo to the home to notify Bethany of the removal and to pick up Josiah. Bethany become very upset learning of the removal. And the thing is, I was like, what proof do you guys have? Where's the warrant? And that's when they told the police department, Officer Hawk, to attack me and write a fraudulent report out to put me in jail for something I never did, so I won't file illegal actions on them with the DHHS office headquarters. They say he had to physically remove me from the home. Caseworker found Josiah upstairs in the bedroom with the door closed. He was eating on the bed with cheese puffs, and he was watching a movie. And this is where it's really disturbing, guys. This is where it is very, very disturbing of what they put in this activity log report. This is very disturbing lie they put in this report. They said caseworker found Josiah clothing and then exited the home with him. The thing is, he was fully clothed. I just changed his diaper and all this other stuff. And then Laura Bubba sat on the stand and said he was in a soiled diaper when they took him. No, that was not true. Because I just changed him literally 5 minutes before they illegally kidnapped my son. Guys. And he was fully clothed and all this other stuff. Then Laura Bobo and Jamie May and Tara Carsey and Lisa Jericho all basically shoved me down, stomped on me, attacked my son up in the room I was in at my old apartment. And then they also stated that my house was unsafe and unlivable hazard conditions. When that was not the case, my house was spick and span clean. I had a lot of boxes of merchandise and stuff that I ordered for me and Josiah, groceries, baby gate, cleaning supplies, all that stuff. I was in the process of unpacking the items that I got delivered that day. There was a lot of items. And then they go around, trash my whole entire apartment I used to live in, then stole over $65 off the dresser, literally. Then they transport him to a foster home placement. Josiah did not speak or have any reaction during this time period. Well, of course he's not. You guys knocked him unconscious. Upon arrival at the foster home, the caseworker went over the care agreement and got both foster parents' signatures. And they said thank you for their time and visit, and the visit ended, they said. And then I put a note down here. False. He was fully dressed. No response because the workers attacked him and knocked him unconscious. I had put that down there because I'm going to set people straight. That's what happened. Created by Laura Bobo, responsible worker, Laura Bobo. They said they received over 55 emails from me from Friday night through the wee hours of Monday morning. And I never once did that. I was asleep. And that email account was hacked. Literally, it was hacked 2 months prior. It says Leisure Jericho SAS and CH, I don't even know what CH is, honestly, regarding the threatening emails towards the Jericho. Emails forwarded for transverse entry. And I never once sent those emails. They admitted, and I knew they did this, along with some other people, got into my email account, hacked it, sent threatening emails against them, to themselves, and stuff to pin false felonies on me. Literally, to pin false felonies on me so they can have a reason to remove my son. Because they had not one dang reason to remove my son. And every time I was getting ready to move out of state with my son and they found out about it, there was a worker inside the agency that made a false report so they can have an open case on me to harass me so I can't move out of state. Corruption. They spoke, like, legally, they're not even supposed to speak to the judge about the case. They're not even allowed to do that. And they spoke with Judge Stewart, explaining the concerns. Judge Robert Stewart, the same judge who denied them custody from the start, and they knew they had nothing on me, so they went as far as sending threatening emails to another coworker to pin it on me and everything else. And it's messed up. These people are sick in the head. Sick, I said. They're freaking sick and mental. Met with Officer Hawk, HB to Bethany's, later joined by Officer Dolly. Bethany was notified of the ECO and became upset. There was no warrant to remove my kids. There was no evidence to remove my kids. They did it out of discrimination and retaliation because of what Sue Meeks did and all these other people did. So they could have a reason to move my kids, to pin stuff on me, to pin crimes on me that I never committed. And they falsely accused me that I became combative with the officer. I never once did this, guys. I never once did this. I never once became combative with the officer. I was trying to get upstairs to bring my son down, and they said that was combative. Well, they told me to go up there and get him. I never once become combative with the officer. Never once. And like I said, in some of my other videos and earlier on this video, they also told that officer to attack me, pin combative charges on me, to just put me in jail so I won't fight for my rights. They literally told the officer to write out a false, fraudulent incident report so I won't be able to fight and submit my proof of the evidence. So while I was in jail, running a jail cell for something I never did, they was going to all these doctors committing fraud, paying them lump sums of money to change the evidence in the computer system to make it look like that I was medically neglecting my kids when I never was. Sick, guys. These people are sick. These are true criminals hiding behind a CPS badge to kidnap any kid they think is adoptable. And then he acted like he was the victim and called for backup. And there was no such thing. He was not the victim. I was the victim. And Laura Bubba says she repeatedly asked me to calm down. She never once did that. And do as the officer asked. She never did that. Because she was upstairs with Jamie to take my kid, and before they brought him down, knocked him unconscious, and broke his toys, broke his sippy cup, and stole over $65 off the dresser. And some change. I was never under arrest. Never. And they told them to put a fraudulent report in. And they said Bethany was charged with resisting and obstruction and transported to the Southeastern Ohio Regional Jail. First off, I never was resisting arrest. I was not even under arrest. And there was no obstruction that happened like they claim. It was all set up for them to have a reason to take my kid. Crooked cops, crooked CPS workers. Jamie Mays agreed to transport Josiah to the foster home. This is a lie. Never did this. Jamie Mays and them told the cop to write out a fraudulent report. Jamie and Laura Bobo attacked me and Josiah. I put the notes in there to describe what really happened. And I never once did know the stuff they saying that I'm doing. It was all for profit. And this was a report from Karen Armstrong. Worker counted out over 50 emails for Bethany and from Friday, November 30th until this morning, which was a lie. I did not do any of that stuff that they claiming I did. It says 12/3/8T, CC was supervisor, intake supervisor, BM to Jennifer Kane, help me grow, attended an emergency meeting in regards to Josiah, spoke with the service provider, Carla Boyle, in regards to Bethany's emails to service providers to not contact Bethany. Like, I never sent emails to these people. And little Jennifer Kane and little Carla knew. They are the ones who sent the emails to pin abuse on me to get on their little ride to commit fraud to remove my kids from my care. That's the whole plan, was to get them on board, to make them believe, brainwash them to make them believe I did stuff I never did. They literally hacked my IP address, sat outside my apartment to do all this stuff, just to make it look like I did something I never did. And they hacked my email accounts. Created by Jamie May, 12/4/2018. Responsible worker, Laura Bobo. Licensed foster home. Start time 11:30 a.m. End time 11:35 a.m. Initial contact with the parent, no. This was by Jamie Mays again, guys. The caseworker spoke with Laura to advise her the ECO was continued. Laura advised that Josiah had a rash and wanted to take him to the doctor. And no, Laura was his foster mother, and there was a supervisor named Laura. They smacked my son, left the handprint across his face. I used to have the pictures of it. They literally slapped my son across the face the day they attacked him. Slapped him across the face. And I could tell by the size of the handprint that the foster mother did the same thing to my autistic child. The same thing. I can tell by the size of the handprint. So between these workers, the foster home, he was being abused in their care. To pin neglect on me, to pin false charges on me, and so they can put drugs in his system. That was no rash, guys. That was no rash on his face. He was smacked repeatedly by multiple people. Multiple people. You can see 3 different sets of handprints on his face. And I used to have the picture of it. There was no rash. He was being abused in Athens County Children's Services foster care. And they tried to take him to the doctor and saying that he has a rash. So they gave him Benadryl to drug him. That didn't work. They gave him something else. That didn't work. They gave him another drug. That didn't work. Because it wasn't a rash, guys. He was slapped repeatedly by multiple people in their care. It makes me sick that these people do this stuff and can get away with it. It's disturbing. And by no means am I threatening anyone in these videos, but I want my side of the story to get out with the evidence. Laura regarding to the rash on Josiah's face, she said, Dr. feels there was an allergic reaction to the pine tree in the home. He suggested Benadryl. The caseworker thanked Laura and advised she would be at the family home with the vouchers for Josiah. Yeah, they only got the vouchers because they got the bonuses money to freaking from taking him from me. They got cash, and they made the cashes into the vouchers for my son. They refused to take any of his medication. They refused to take his diapers with them. They refused to take his wipes, any clothes, any of that stuff with them. Only reason they got the voucher was because they got the bonus ahead of time to remove my son, Josiah. That's money laundering. They get paid in advance to take whatever kid they decide to take. And with that money, they get the vouchers from that money. The little bonuses they get and get paid to kidnap your kids. I'm reading this stuff right off these documents, guys. Went to the home for a 7-day visit. Josiah was observed walking and playing. However, he didn't interact with other children. He always was walking and playing in my care. And they committed fraud to say he was not walking and playing in my care. They committed fraud and stating that he was being neglected and abused, that he was so far behind. They committed fraud, claiming that he never talked. He always talked and baby talked with me at our old place that we used to live in. And they say that he never talked. He was nonverbal, but I beg to differ. He would say mommy. He would say mama. He was almost potty trained before all this stuff happened. Now he's in a vegetative state because of Athens County Children's Services. He did not interact with other children because he was never around any other kids. He was the only child at the time. Laura reports that Josiah has not been eating, and that is concerned as she has tried giving him several different foods with no success. Of course he's not going to eat. You guys attacked him and injured him. And he was away from his loving, caring, fit mommy. Of course he's not going to eat. Laura reports that he has not had any other difficulty in the home. The caseworker thanked her for her time, and then the visit ended. He was doing this at my place. He was walking, playing, he was eating, he was almost potty trained, and all that stuff at our old place. As you know, I put a note in it. The chief of police requested a copy of the court order regarding removing Josiah. There was no court order. And the chief, from what I heard, was a woman beater herself anyway. I don't know how true that is. And they legally have to show you the removal. Conference with JWCH regarding removal. It said facts from Ohio Health Bethany requested to be sent to ACCS, and it shows 7 cancer appointments by Bethany, and Bethany and I rescheduled 5 or 6 being canceled since August 2018. In fact, Ohio Health Therapy shows 42 cancel and no-show appointments out of 51 from June 11th, September 24th. And that was a lie. They changed this. I attended 99% of these appointments. They went through the system, committed fraud, changed the evidence around. They refused to let me sign in. And when I showed up for his appointments, they said, he has no appointment. You need to leave. That's exactly what the Ohio Health Therapy Department says on 75 Hospital Drive. In reality, I was attending his appointments. I attended 90%, 95% of his appointments. And I called a complaint to the manager about it. They say, well, it will alert us if they do. I was like, no, it won't. Like, they use the exact same technology they use to schedule appointments and to change appointments around. And it never gives them a warning about it. So what they did, like I said, was committed fraud, went around, changed the evidence of all his appointments I took him to. I took him to over half of these appointments, guys. I took him to over half of these appointments. And then they claiming that there was 42 cancel or no-show appointments out of 51. And that is not true. That is not true. They committed fraud, changed the evidence around to make it look like I neglected my son when I never did. All because the therapist got mad. I reported one of the other therapists to the manager for leaving a bruise on my son. There was a bruise like this on my son from the therapist there. a bruise this big on my son, guys, and they got all ticked off. I reported to the local branch, and so what they did, out of retaliation, with the branch manager, was change his appointments around to make it look like I neglected him out of retaliation for reporting patient abuse to the head branch manager, which was Tara. And I still seen her to this day. And I told her that you better leave me alone, my family alone. And then the PC from Erin Lucas, which is a conflict of interest because she was my counselor as a child, pinning false diagnosis on me as a child. Erin Lucas. They actually transferred her to help me grow through Hopewell. She no longer was a counselor. And she never seen me with my son. Erin Lucas, she states one of her staff, Carla Boyle, recorded the emails with Bethany, which made threats towards ACCS, which I never sent any threats to them. The CPS workers and the police did it, so they have a reason to remove my son from my care. Because they had not one reason to remove him. My stuff was hacked, like I said before. I asked if they will forward the emails. She said they're very concern for Josiah's safety with Bethany. Although I never once sent a threatening email. Never once. And they tried to pin 65 accounts of aggravated menacing on me that I never committed. Never once committed. And as you guys see in my previous video, I believe it was last night, them openly admitting that they are the ones who sent these threatening emails to a co-worker to pin on me to have a reason to remove my son, because they had not one reason to remove my son from me, so they committed fraud to do so by sending threatening emails to other people. Told her Josiah was removed from mom's care last night and is currently in a foster home with a hearing at 11. She says she was relieved. Erin Lucas lied. Carla Boyle lied. I never sent those emails, guys. I would not lie about something like that. Some emails for Carla for the Traverse entry. Signed the complaint of the temporary custody attendant testified at the shelter care hearing. Bethany was not present. When I called the jail at 10:50 a.m., they reported that Bethany was still in jail by fraud. I was in jail by fraud from a fraudulent police report, from a fraudulent report from a cop that CPS told them to do. Later learned that she appealed in municipal court and was released from jail with a hearing set for next week. And they literally, guys, they literally put a warrant out for my arrest for something I never did. Literally. Because they found out, like they said, they found out that I was released, guys. And they didn't like that. And they found out from DHHS headquarters that I was filing a complaint against them and was trying to send my proof of evidence to them and everything. And they didn't like that too well. So they make up a whole crap load of lies to get me rearrested. Message that Bethany was picked up from the jail by Amanda Clark on the 14th. And they informed the police about it. And then they put a warrant out to get me put back in. Created by Karen Armstrong and the responsible workers, Lisa Jericho. See, they have like 20,000 different workers on this case, and that is illegal. Anything to gangbang against innocent families to fit parents to get profit, guys. That's exactly what this is gangbanging. December 5th, 2018, Jamie Mays, contacted Help Me Grow. The case will receive a phone call from Jennifer Kane at Help Me Grow. Jennifer had questions about coordinating Josiah's ongoing care. The caseworker agreed to follow up with her after decisions on long-term placement has been made. So, like, literally, Jennifer Kane from Help Me Grow, Carla Boyle, all committed fraud along with CPS to remove my son because they don't like that I was on welfare. That's exactly what they said. They have a problem with me being on welfare. They was contacted by another person. C Meeks reports that something, I don't know, I can't really read that. I'll have to relook at it later. That she scheduled Josiah for complete evaluations on 12/14/18, which is the foster mother, as it said, Laura, in the previous review reports. 12/14/18 at the CIC building in Logan. Caseworker spoke with Amanda Clark by phone. Amanda agreed to go to Bethany's home so that a phone interview with her could be completed by the caseworker and the supervisor, Laura Bobo. This was scheduled for 12/7/18 at 10:30 a.m. Because they confiscated my phone. Although they're the ones who hacked into my phone and everything. Really messed up, guys. This stuff is so sick. It makes me sick to my stomach. I'm literally trying not to retch right now on live video. This makes me so sick. Created by Jamie Mays, again, from Sue Meeks, mail to meeksohio.edu, to Laura Bobo, parent to Lisa Garrico, and some other people. Good morning, Laura and Laura. I just faxed over some release documents that will allow us to communicate with providers regarding the CEOIAT evaluation for a child recently moved into your care. Please sign, initial, and return the documents, and I will let Nationwide team members know. Call if questions. Thanks, Sue. Heritage College of Orthopedic Medicine Community Health Programs at Park Hall. Manager Family Navigator Program. That's the same one 6 months prior. He says she will commit fraud. She will intentionally lie in court. She will intentionally make a falsified report if she finds out I still had Josiah in my care. And that's exactly what she did almost 6 months later. From his evaluation, autism spectrum disorder evaluation that I took him to. And after she found out then that's when she knew I still had Josiah, and she called in, remain anonymous, supposedly, to make a falsified report on me just because she doesn't like that I'm on welfare, that I am single, and that I was a foster child and on an IEP in school, and that I am divorced and a victim of domestic violence. Like, it's my fault. Like, come on, people. I was not having any kids when all this stuff was happening, but yet she didn't approve of me having kids because of that. Which is hate crimes. That's exactly what it is, guys. Hate crimes, discrimination crimes, and retaliation crimes. And she has done this to multiple families who had a similar history. And if I had a phone to record it, I would have posted on YouTube long ago to prove it. And then Mixo had the edu, Facebook, the other web browsers, I guess. The best student-centered learning experience in America. Yeah, best center to kidnap people's kids for profit. Jamie Mays, caseworker and the supervisor, Laura Bravo, completed a phone interview with Bethany and her IS caseworker, Amanda Clark. Bethany was asked to provide information about herself and Josiah during the call. Bethany was also told that her behavior expectation was moving forward, which I never acted out in the first place. I never threatened them in the first place. It's just the way they can get profit, guys. These people are messed up. And that was the last, not the last page, but close to the last page. Then, responsible worker yet again, Lisa Garrico. And Lisa Garrico, created by. I'm still reading, guys. And there's really nothing on here. That said at 8:55 a.m. random moment on this date while meeting with CWS regarding the new report. Apparently there was multiple reports on me even after I lost my son from fraud and corruption. That's harassment because they knew, they were informed that I lost my kid and they were still harassing me. Just for profit, guys. Just for profit. That stuff is sick. It is disturbing. These people are so corrupt and money hungry that they would just go at whatever extent they can to kidnap people's kids. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you know anyone like me who has gone through the fraud, the harassment, the abuse, the trauma, all for their own financial selfish gain, help people. Don't talk bad on them. Help them. This is disgusting. This is so disgusting, guys. This is disturbing, the stuff that you were saying that was not true about me. So they can just take my kids for profit. So I'm asking you guys, if you know anyone at all who is going through this stuff, like I'm going through, this was before the cases and stuff was closed, before they kidnapped my infant for profit as well, because they were adoptable and everything. I just want you guys to realize that please help a parent who's in need. Don't judge them. Do not judge them. And even after all this stuff has been closed, they're still threatening me. They're still harassing me. And more they harass me and more they threaten me, the more I'm going to expose them on YouTube Live. I have that right before they take that amendment away like they're trying to. I have that right till they take that amendment away. And even if they take the amendment way down 6, 7 years down the road, they still cannot try me because this was before they took that amendment away. So guys, I'm asking you guys, please be there and help people who's in a crisis situation, who is constantly being harassed and threatened by these people. All because of what? Because I'm sharing my side of the story and I'm speaking the truth and proving my evidence that they shredded, that they destroyed, so I won't get my kids back. Come on, guys. This is messed up. Be there for one another. Don't let people treat people like this. Like, if you see a parent who is struggling of harassment, don't leave them in a situation. Try to help them and be there as a support for them. Because this stuff is real. This stuff is completely real and it's disturbing. These are some of the things they will commit to take your kids away for profit. This is how far they will go to take your kids away for profit because they were adoptable. And they have to meet adoption quotas every year. They have to adopt so many kids out every year, and they are told to commit fraud if you have to meet the adoption quota so they can continue to get funding to fund these criminals that's hiding behind a CPS badge. And this is the 100% truth on this. And as you can see on a lot of my videos, I got a lot of videos about stuff like this and how they do it and how they're very often guilty of fraud and everything. So if you would, please go through my other videos of CPS corruption, court corruption, police brutality. Go through the videos of me and my son. I did several live videos, not really live videos, but I did videos of me and my oldest son, Josiah, when all this stuff was going on. They kept closing me out because there was no evidence to show no of that stuff. And they knew they had nothing on me. They knew they had no evidence on me. So this is why they went to the max capacity to rip my family apart and turn my own aunt and uncle against me, guys. For profit. To meet adoption quotas. Yeah, I just went there. And it's truth. It's the truth. There is so many people who is in my situation. If you go on Facebook, there's so many Facebook groups to help parents. And there's also, you got to be careful with that because there's CPS workers who will claim under a fake name and a fake profile picture with fake information to claim they lost their kids when in reality, they're harassing families in those groups that they took the kids from by fraud. And they're harassing them because they are exposing them. And my attorney, Madeline Rainbow, she told me, do not expose them until the cases are closed. So expose them all you want. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what my attorney told me to do. Because they can't do nothing after the cases are closed. And they said, for my own safety, do not expose them till after the cases and stuff are closed. So now that's what I'm doing. There are several people, I'm not going to say their names, but I'm sure you can find them, locate them on Facebook, that does these things, does the advocacy, that expresses what really happened in their situation of losing permanent custody of their kids, with evidence to prove they're innocent, as I did, and prove a fraudulent claims, as I did. So guys, really, please don't be judgmental of parents who has lost their kids till you really know the situation, and everything. So I'm just asking you guys, please be there for people and help to fight this corruption, with CPS and the courts and the law enforcement, because you may never know when you might have a kid and you lose your kid too. Just because you don't have a kid or have your kids and haven't lost their kids does not mean that it is never a risk for you not to lose them. Because I thought that, because I knew I was doing everything right. I never thought there would be a risk of me losing my kids, because I knew I was a fit mom. I knew I did everything I was supposed to do and everything else. So even if you have your kids still, do not say you're not going to fight for parents who has lost their kids by fraud, because one of these days that could be you. That could be you, guys. That could be you. One of these days that could be you. People need to step up, speak out, be loud, expose the government, expose CPS agencies. They go under, like, for example, ACCS, FYDS, FYCS, FYFS, DHHR, DHS, they go under all kinds of names, these CPS agencies, and JFS is also part of these CPS agencies, because they all share the same system. So if you are pregnant and you lost a previous kid, do not apply for cash assistance, because they will register a JFS that you're pregnant, and they're going to commit fraud again to take your kids. So if you lost your kids, best thing I can tell you, if you ever have another child, record everything, as well as remain anonymous. Make sure there's several people there. Make sure you have the evidence that you need throughout your whole pregnancy, because even if the cases are closed, if they find out you're pregnant again, they will kidnap that kid for profit. So, like, these central registries, there's one for every state. If you're on it, they do background checks, and you won't be able to be a nurse. You won't be able to work with elderly people. You won't be able to continue your education if you're going to school to work with kids. That's what I was going to school, to work with kids, and they knew about it, and they had to commit fraud to remove my kids, to put people on a registry for profit so that you won't be successful. See, that's the thing. Children's services agencies, mental health providers, psychiatric hospitals, most of them, not all, but most of them, they don't want you to be successful. They do not want you to be successful. They don't want to help you. So just keep that in mind as well. And they will make sure you're not successful. They will do everything in their power to see you're not successful. They are the reason why I'm so far in debt with money owing to the Department of Education and the University of Phoenix and Hawking College, is because of what they did. They committed fraud and made me and forced me to drop out of my classes by harassment and abuse. And they don't think a woman or a man should go to college if they have kids. They are completely against that, because that means you'll have more money to sue them if you're successful and graduate. You'll have the funds to sue them for fraud. So that's another reason why they will see that you don't finish school and be successful, because if you finish school and get an extremely good job, you can sue them for harassment, duress, and abuse. And they don't want to be sued. So they will try and make sure they will do everything they can to see that you're unsuccessful in everything you do. They destroyed my chains to get my license. They did all this stuff because they do not want me to be successful. So these people, I'm going to remind you guys, does not want the parents to be successful, because that means they can lose money if they get sued and found guilty of fraud in court. Why do you think they attack people on welfare? Because they'll, and 30% level of poverty. And by doing that, they know they can get away with fraud, lies. They know they won't be able to hire a private investigator on them and all this other stuff. So that means they can get away with fraud, get immunity, strip your rights away so they can have tons of freaking money in their pocket. Literally. It's a billion, trillion, quadrillion dollar industry of trafficking our kids for profit. And they would go whatever means possible to see you lose your kids. And you don't have to do anything. If they think your child be adoptable and worth a lot of money, they will commit fraud to take your child away from you and strip your rights away, then change the whole name on the black market and the social security number. No joke. That's how low they will go to get the money they want. So people, just be forewarned of what is really happening, and understand not every parent who has lost their kids forever has done anything to deserve it. Because 9 times out of 10, casement workers to CPS agencies is 99.99.5% guilty of fraud, perjury, money laundering, extortion, abuse, harassment. Let that sink in. Just because you might not have kids right now, and because you might have kids right now, don't think you cannot be touched, because you will be. You can easily have your kid 1 second. Next minute, your kids can be kidnapped by the cops and CPS and the courts for profit. So don't ever think you're not untouchable, because you can be very touchable, especially if your kids have certain characteristics of their genes that they think could be more adoptable. They go after blonde hair, blue eyes. They go after African American babies. They go after mixed babies. They go after Native American babies, because that means they get more money for that. And they go after those who has disabilities for kids wise, because they can get a lot more profit with them kids. Same with newborns. They can get up to $10,000 per newborn they kidnap at birth. Yes, I just told you guys that, and it's the truth. It's the truth. So before you judge a parent who has lost their kids by fraud, make sure you know their story, and make sure you know their history, and make sure you know that they do commit fraud. The courts, the law enforcement, CPS, they commit fraud. Help Me Grow commits fraud. Mental health professionals commit fraud. The pharma companies are involved in it. And that's another thing. More kids and more parents they can put on psychotropic drugs, the more money these agencies can get, these big pharma companies can get. So it's all about profit. It's not anything for the best interest of their children or the parents. It is best interest of their pockets. More kids and more parents who can get put on psychotropic drugs by committing fraud and money laundering to pay these doctors and counselors and home visitors lump sums of cash, more money they get for drugging parents, for drugging their kids. And the pharma companies, the mental health providers are part of it. And don't let them tell you otherwise, because they're 100% behind this. It's all for profit, guys. It's all for profit. So with this said, think about what I just told you. Don't think you cannot be untouched, because I thought I wasn't going to be able to be touched to remove my kids. And they still remove my kids. And they remove them for profit. So I really hope this helps you guys to understand more what's going on with the corruption and the court corruption and CPS corruption. And I share my documents to prove my innocence, and I shared the fraudlant documents that I got and was able to locate. And I have literally 2,000 pages of documents to prove most of it was fraud. anything to take my kids away from me and make my life a living hell for profit. All because of discrimination and retaliation and profit. Point blank. That's how it is. And a lot of people I know who works in the community, even professionals, are losing their kids. They're using COVID as a form of neglect as well. So I just want to throw that out there. So God bless everyone, and do not judge someone who lost their kids till you know their situation. And don't try to go to these agencies to ask confirmation, because they will tell you lies. That's what they do. That's the only thing these agencies know how to do, is lie. All right. Talk soon, guys. Take care. Bye.